Hey, good morning, everyone. I am waiting for an inspector on a project that we have been working on for a little bit. Uh, while I'm hanging out, I figured I'd tell a little story about a couple of foreclosure properties where we've been communicating with the owners and trying to help them through their process. Um, so the first couple fell behind on their mortgage and applied for loan mods, went through a whole array of options. Pretty much exhausted everything. Um, they were talking to a lot of other cash buyers in the area, trying to see who was a good fit. They found a guy that they took a liking to, and he brought the property to my attention. And I got involved, and we started talking to the seller, and we started kind of weeding out different scenarios, different options. For us, the numbers didn't work as a cash offer, which does happen. Um, so what we did was, we proposed maybe taking over the payments, which is something we can do. And once we got the repayment and reinstatement and all of the actual numbers from their bank, we determined that it still didn't make sense for us. Um, once I examined their scenario a little bit deeper, I proposed to them. I said, honestly, if you just list the property, we're in North Jersey, so it's still hot. It's still a very, very hot market here. The likelihood that someone will buy it and move in the short term, beating out the foreclosure date, is very good. And they potentially would have walked away with, you know, a good chunk of money, all things considered. I mean, considering that they were in arrears. I mean, they were behind like $124,000 in payments, and to still be able to walk away with 40, 50 grand is pretty amazing. Well, long story short is they took that advice, and they actually had a realtor that they worked with when they bought the property that they wanted that realtor to list the property for them, which is totally fine. Right? Again, we propose solutions to help people not lose their house, not to come in and just buy everything up. But in the 11th hour, another investor in the marketplace kind of popped up, which was kind of giving them um, an opportunity to just get out real easy without having to list a property. And it seemed like they had signed a contract, and like the day after they signed the contract, they get a letter from their bank saying your loan modification got approved. So, had I said, yeah, we could take over the payments, or been that cash buyer, 3, 4, 5 weeks earlier, we would have scooped up a property that their lender was going to approve a loan mod on anyway. Now, the lender took 6 months to get this approval done, and the homeowners told me they had applied like 6 or 7 different ways, and if you've ever gone through this, there's so much paperwork depending on the lender that needs to be put together. Um, Most homeowners are completely caught off guard by the enormous amount of paperwork that the lenders bombard you with. So, uh, they get to keep their house. They could afford the payments. The loan mod was approved. Now their rate went up, which is something a lot of people are unaware of. That when you do a loan mod, your rate, let's say you have a nice 4% rate from the low interest rate environment we had. Well, they went from a 4 to a 7. However, their payments are still affordable, and they could stay in their home, which is what they wanted to do. So that's totally a victory. I'm glad that it turned out that way for them. I have another homeowner right now I've been talking with. Many people are talking with this person, I'm sure, who's trying to do a reverse loan modification. Hasn't made a mortgage payment in 6 years. Um, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense that the lenders would even entertain this, but I guess they still are. But the individual had to file bankruptcy to avoid foreclosure. And as a matter of fact, today is the auction date, and they're just getting their motion for bankruptcy in this morning. So, if you're a homeowner and you're behind, um, you don't want to be in the position of it's the day of the auction and we're trying to postpone it. Is not a good scenario. And many a times it doesn't pan out. You definitely want to get in front. We want to be proactive and not reactive. And sometimes being proactive means making um, decisions that are less favorable, like selling the property. Ultimately, the foreclosure avoidance is the ultimate goal. We do not want that on your record. But yeah, two totally different scenarios and two totally different outcomes potentially. So one person got to keep their house, which is great. We helped them out. Him and his wife, and he and his wife were greatly appreciative of our honesty and the time we took to kind of go through the numbers and go through the details. Um, there are plenty of properties for us to buy, so we don't need to buy every property that we look at. And they did not fit that couple did not fit the profile of like a seller that we would typically scoop a property up from because I knew they had equity there, which is um, and they did not have like a need to sell right now situation because their auction date was still way out in the distance. So they had options on the table. They just need to make that decision. Well, they get to keep their house. This other seller or the other homeowner, I think, is going to be forced to become a seller through the bankruptcy because now comes the approvals of the bankruptcy and all of the fact finding that goes into that once we start getting legal involved. And um, there seems to be some equity that could be salvaged there, but not much. The property does need some attention. There's a lot of deferred maintenance, and that stuff adds up, especially in today's market. So if you're a homeowner and you're behind, reach out. Let's have a little consultation. Let's look at your options. 99% of the people I talk to tell me they want to keep their house, they're not selling. The reality is that your house is for sale, just you didn't give the permission to sell it, and the lenders will take your home. It's just not a matter of if, it's just when. So we do not want to end up in the week of, the day of, getting to the bottom of all these things, trying to figure it out. It is very difficult to do, and it requires a lot of work.